we see a flipbook of stills from the life of Griffin Axtrummer. Memories. His first is the time Isaac saved him from the tree, and the downy cushion of cloaks on the cold, hard ground. Though he would never later admit it, he remembers quite clearly what he said the day Isaac was sworn in as a warden cadet. "I want to be just like him." And he was. We see his chest swell with pride on his 17th birthday as he is sworn in as Agravar's newest cadet. Training taken in stride. Accolades abounding even faster than his brothers. But something changes for Griffin. By the time he's 21, the veins take hold. He realizes he can sway his superiors without their knowledge. He hones this craft in secret, half hoping that with practice he might someday will it away. He does not. Agra is killed. Isaac flees. Commander Nasir Antony rises to power from the chaos. Subtle hints are made. Words like Imperial Blood Wardens enter into Griffin's memory for the first time. But that would mean abandoning his home for Altair, and poor Risa couldn't bear to lose 2 sons. Katarina arrives. Hank ascends. Commander Nasir Antony is imprisoned, escapes, and flees. Guilt racks Griffin. He has to do something. The road to Altair is long, cold, and lonely, but the vines help convince the odd tavern keeper to offer up free lodging. Griffin even learns to use them to watch his own back. And once he arrives, everything changes again. The Blood Wardens recruit him as a sergeant, citing his erstwhile service to the late Lord Governor. Among his own kind, he begins to train, to hone, to listen. He's promoted through lieutenant to captain. And every day he commits all that he's learned to memory. Things he is told and things he should not know. The battle plan of the Imperial Army. The floor plan of the High Scepter's office. The true form of the Empressar that hides behind the screen. He makes no record. He bides his time. And then word arrives that Isaac is in Altair. And we see Griffin write for the first time. 100 variations of "order to arrest you," "get out of town," "let me take the fall," litter his floor before he burns them, one by one. He cannot risk a note. He'll need to see his brother again in person. Closes his eyes and reaches out for help. Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Unbalanced Encounters, the only show that dares to ask, what if House of Cards was an eldritch fucking nightmare? I'm your host, Patrick Paridi. Say hi, everybody.
Perfect kind of TV program. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, gosh.
I don't want that at all.
I don't at all.
You all find yourselves with a little bit of forced downtime. You have 2 days remaining. I believe we rolled a 3 on the Gabbing Gopher.
That's crazy. It feels like we're preparing for like an event. You know what I mean? We're like
That's
at the
literally
campground.
what we're doing.
It's like, but it's like, no, I know,
going
but it's like, when you said that, Pat, it made me feel like we are at a campground where there's like going to be a music festival in 2 days.
People
Or
are
like
waiting.
Dick Sherwood.
Yeah. We're waiting for
But it's
the
not a
headliner to
festival.
show up.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
We don't even know if
We're gonna set up the tents, get
the
campsite
water.
lessons.
That's kind of exactly the situation. Because
Empressar
because
Con.
there is an
There's gonna be the
element.
food tent over here.
There is an element of this that, like, once you have Sherwood, plans can begin to kind of move. Once you have everyone, it's going to be very hard to keep a lid on things. And you know that the Imperial Palace is on highest possible alert.
You're welcome.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Holy shit. How many natural ones? I'm so sorry to cut you off, but how many natural ones collectively did you guys roll?
I think
More than five. So many.
At
Okay, I'm
least
sorry,
two.
but that was crazy.
No, it's fine.
I really hope that
Single
we can
digits
move
all
past
round.
that soon.
Yes.
Can we all as a table agree that we need to move past? We've evolved past the need for natural ones. Have we
just
all?
roll a 12, man. Just give me a 12. Just get a
I'm
12.
reading-
I just want
I'm
a
reading
double
all-
An
digit.
eight.
That's
An
all
eight
I
would be
fucking want.
fine.
No,
An eight would be
no,
fine.
Patrick. I want a 10 or higher because I have not rolled more than a single
Right,
digit for a
correct.
very long
I'm
time.
kind of enjoying this de-evolution. This
All
Four.
fours.
Four,
All fours.
1,
Yeah, oops, all fours.
4, 7, 7, 4.
This game loves fucking fours. I don't know what to tell you. There's a body floating downriver somewhere that
That's fine. It was just a drunkard
Yeah.
who fell in.
theoretically could
hit his
eventually
head.
get traced back to crisis mode. So, like, there's a clock ticking in the background of these days. You don't know for how long. You don't know exactly what's going to happen when it sets off. But you do know that you have time, 2 days, before you can act according to the plan, such as it is. And so we are going to be entering into, again, a little bit of downtime. I would like to allow you all to call 2 different downtime activities that you're going to be doing, one for each day. And we can largely resolve those with some very basic roles. If there are scenes that you want to play out, we can do those as well. But I think that maybe right up top, the thing to do is to actually sort of pull back a little bit. Maybe out of character, or we can do it in character if you guys like. Just talk about, like, what do we know?
So I have a couple thoughts right off the bat. I think
Sure.
one of the thoughts that I have is, and it's for me, it's going to determine a little bit of the next thing for me is, do we have a good sense of the layout of the palace? And
Yeah.
in relationship to that, we need to know where the people are that we are trying to hit. We have to hit the High Scepter and we have to hit the Emperor, and I think ideally we have to hit what's her face,
Riley
evil
Trent.
evil
Trent.
grandma.
I honestly
there's-
think Evil Grandma
Gran.
is first, because if she is basically the big brother eye type
Yeah.
thing, if we knock
Yeah,
her
yeah.
out, then
Take
we
out
can do
the
a lot
cameras.
more without being seen.
The only other thing that I can think of from just sort of the 1,000-foot view here is that, and this is a little bit specific to Guard, there might be more information about the Guardians in the armory, that, you know, sort of complex of rooms that Guard would have been stored in, that your new Retriever Guardian seems to have some sort of connection to. Maybe a little further down the list in terms of clear objective, but is on the map somewhere probably.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have the architectural plans for the Imperial Palace Island, the original
We-
drawings.
Also have now a secret entrance,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Yeah.
left it hidden, but easy to get. It's basically you can open it on a whim now. You can just go,
Mm-hmm.
and so we can get in via the dungeons and up.
I think that you guys pull open these plans and you get the following information. You see that there is a front entrance gate that bridges to the east side of the river. That gate is heavily guarded by wardens and archers, obviously 24 hours a day. Safra and June know that at least some of the guard has left. You're not sure exactly how many or why, but some of the guard has left. They have been repositioned, restationed.
That was them coming down.
Oh yeah.
That we want. Is the plan still distractions throughout the city to pull them away from the
think so.
Empressar's temple?
We could even have one of
kingdom.
them at the front door of the palace, just to bring really kind of like distract the guards into focusing on the front door while we
Could
kind
do.
of like sneak in the back.
I will say that the front door of the palace is going to be the most difficult place to get people to, because it is quite possibly the furthest position from a safe house in the entire city.
Okay.
It's not impossible. It's just going to be tough to get fighting forces to it.
The question, I think the way to answer that question would be to think which of the fighting forces that we have access to would be the most mobile.
Pushing through the rest of this before we start to get super tactical, beyond the front gate is a sort of palace interior. And when I say palace, I really want you all to envision like a castle complex. There is obviously the river acting as a moat, this island kind of jutting straight up, cliff face of these rocks to high walls that encase not a singular building, but multiple buildings. There is kind of this small quasi-town operating within inside of these.
Is it like the Vatican?
Yeah, basically. You could think of it like the Vatican. Maybe a little bit more concentrated on the central fortress that kind of acts as the imperial tower. But in general, yeah, that's the idea. And so this gate opens up into this complex, and the entire interior is an amalgam of different buildings, many of which are additional guardhouses. There are 3 tiers of gatehouse beyond the first. So there's the gatehouse with the bridge. Then up a level, there's another gatehouse. Then up a level, there's another gatehouse. Then there's another gatehouse immediately behind that, protecting the central fortress. And then the fortress itself is a fortress. Interspersed amongst all of this are gardens, green spaces built onto this island for the enjoyment of the nobility that has always been meant to occupy this space. So beyond sort of the security apparatus, in kind of level 2, there is a fairly large building that is a Sapphire Sun monastery, a dedicated retreat for Sisters of the Sapphire Sun.
Do they exit? Do they leave the compound essentially, like, and then come back in? And do they do that just in like through the front door?
You can roll me a history check.
Ooh.
There's going to be some decent information on a 5, but if you beat that by a fair margin, you might get much better information.
Okay, how about a nat 20 for a 30?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes.
It only took 3 hours of gameplay, but we did it, y'all.
Yep.
June, you get from sort of the group very ready information that the only people to come and go through the front door of this palace are military units and people who have sought audience or have been sought for audience with a high-standing official. No one who lives inside the palace routinely comes out of the palace, least of all the Sisterhood. You also, on a fucking 30,
Yeah, baby.
recall one of your mother's textbooks given to you about the history of the Sisterhood, that this is actually the initial monastery. That for the most part, the Sisterhood is not something that is visible or recognized in the political machinery that they seek to inhabit and manipulate. This is an exception to that rule, and it is because the Sisterhood was founded in and for Altair. They were responsible for deposing a ruler at the time of their founding, and part of their reward for doing so and establishing a new leader of whatever nation state this was at the time was they were granted effectively defensible land use within the palace in perpetuity. So this is basically the only building that bears the name Sisterhood of the Sapphire Sun, and they don't leave. Right at the dead center, at the furthest point from any of the outside edges of this island or the walls that surround it, is the Imperial Fortress. And that is a 6-story building that itself is elevated about 10 feet off the ground of just sheer stone. So it's about 70 feet tall at its tallest point. The last point on the map is that the Imperial Throne Room is in the highest floor of the central tower. Also, I'm just going to give this to you. You know High Scepter's office is on the 3rd floor because you would have seen how many floors up you were before you jumped out.
Oh, great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So halfway up. High Scepter is
Calculating
halfway
fall
up.
damage.
Didn't have to.
So that was what Cinder wanted to know. Cinder wanted to know sort of what the map of the palace looked like and what you were going to be, what buildings you were going to be finding there.
What I want to know then, where does the complex get its food?
I mean, all I'm going to say is that you two took a pickle barrel and a wine barrel in the first time.
Yeah. But where did those come from? Who are they buying them from?
The pickle man.
The pickle guy. What do you want from me?
You know how
Joey-
there's a cabbage
Joey
man? There's a pickle guy.
Actually, wrong. It was the cucumber guy.
It was the cucumber guy. He's off his game.
Because what if we poisoned all the food? And then all of the people in there would die, and then we could just walk in.
It's gonna take forever.
Listen,
And also, they're paladins. They can
you have to
cleanse their
understand, I'm
food.
British. Siege warfare is what I
They're
live for.
all
Yeah?
paladins. They're all immune to disease.
Damn it! What about poison?
Yeah.
No,
Does
but
that
what
count
if
as disease?
Nah, I'm not immune to poison. That's,
Yeah, but 5 lay on hands.
Yeah.
So for everybody,
true.
can everyone lay on hands?
What if we
Yeah,
didn't
it's the
poison
level 1
them?
paladin feature. Yes, everyone can lay on hands.
Oh my god. What if we didn't poison them and we put a whole army in a bunch of barrels?
Trojan
And
horse.
Trojan
and we put
Trojan pickles.
yeah, and then we could wrap it in a bow and say for a special present for the Empress.
Done.
okay.
I think this
take
is
it
our plan
back.
of
We
attack.
all are gonna die.
Put one mic in every barrel, right?
Yeah,
And then
a chicken in every
send
pot.
in-
There is a small window between alerting them to your presence and finishing the job. Because the minute that you alert them to your presence, you're going to be on the back foot in the entire city for protecting the innocents. Everything is going to go on lockdown and people are going to start dying. If one poison detecting schmuck dies because they have commoners to eat their food, that's it. It's over. The clock starts.
So I think honestly, like joking aside, the best thing we had sort of come up with, and that Craig mentioned again, was having our allies sort of at those kind of safe houses, and then helping support sort of around the city and causing chaos. And then previously, Sherwood sort of bringing in as many of the general public to the cause as well. So we have general riots, and they can potentially be armed, or at least get their old and their young out somewhere safe before everything happens, all that kind of thing.
So you have this distraction plan, this idea of how do we distribute the ally groups that you're going to be bringing in to sow maximum chaos with minimum civilian casualties. To answer that question, I think we need to decide on the groups that you are going after. Now, we rolled for this a couple of episodes ago, and I believe that number was 6. Sherwood of the Minehead Boys is one group that you're going to bring. You have 5 more to potentially choose. You can break them up in any way that you would like, right? So, like, the Minehead Boys don't all have to necessarily stick together if you want to figure out how to distribute them around to sort of rally support or whatever. But I think that now is probably a good time to talk about the other 5 that we want to bring to the table. I also had another thought about a potential ally group that you could be bringing into the situation, which would be a little non-traditional. You could have the Myconids go pick up all of the Tinine artifacts that you don't, like more cannons and shit that you don't
I
necessarily
didn't know we
already
could
have.
do that. That's amazing. Yes. I want this. My cannons!
You can treat the cannons and any of the other items that you want to pick up as one of your ally groups.
I mean, making the rest of our allies stronger.
It's just fewer bodies, so it's a trade-off, right?
Guess what, Pat? When we shoot those cannons off, they're also going to have less people.
You're not wrong. Yeah, not wrong.
You will be justly rewarded for choosing that.
That is my argument to
I mean,
getting
I'm
cannons.
always going to want cannons, so...
So we have our ally groups. Sherwood and the Minehead Boys, Big Paul and the Krakow, Harris and the Living Tanine, the Agra Generals, the Tanine Cannons. We have room for one more, or you can make changes to those as you see fit.
Unless you want to bring your mom.
So if Risa shows up, she's going to show up with like an expendable style, like all retired ex-wardens.
Oh,
that'd
damn.
be
Winter
really
Wolves.
cool. Maybe we should do that. I think Risa would actually be really badass, because Risa would know the Warden's tactics as well.
As we saw in a previous intro, she was Nasir Anthony's commanding officer.
Right, yeah.
Also, so here's the thing with that. If we take my mama instead of Oz, we're going for attack more than support with that one.
Yeah.
So that's the real question. Do we want more
I
attack?
think she would have tactical support.
She's also a paladin, so...
Yeah.
Isaac believes his mother is invincible just like he thinks he is, so
Fair
he's not worried.
But my vote is for Risa over Oz, if we had to choose between the two.
Sherwood and the Minehead Boys, Big Paul and the Krakow, Harris and the Living Tanine, the Agra Generals, Risa and the Retirees, and the Tanine Cannons.
That's
Is
good.
that the plan?
I think that's right. Yeah.
So we have a relatively strong start of a plan for storming the castle. We have our list of allies that we want to bring into Altair. I would like to know up front where you're planning on putting them. So why don't I tell you guys where all of the warden garrisons are, and you can start to think about where, like, what might make sense to sort of set up at, right? Because again, remember, Altair, very big, right? Dozens of miles in diameter. One of the garrisons is at the front gate of the outer city wall. A little further south is the museum district, where you guys currently are, the headquarters. Obviously, that is the safe house. There is no active warden garrison in this part of town. Then we move around and we hit the circus, the area where riding birds are run in chariot races. This is sort of the arena, one of two kind of arena districts in town, and there is a large warden garrison there. There is a warden garrison on a small island just south of the mouth of the river. This is the Imperial Harbor Master. This is the like local Navy garrison. Upriver from that, there is a garrison immediately south of the university, which itself is immediately south of the palace. Western half of the river is the Temple of Will, an under construction temple that is being built out by the Emperor Sar. There is a small warden garrison in that part of town. That part of town was largely residential, has been bulldozed to make room for this new temple. Immediately to the north of that is the Colosseum, and there is another larger garrison at the Colosseum, and then the final one is in the Baths district, the Bathhouse district. Curious, are you putting them at the various safe houses, or are you having them do something else tactical? And if so, where are they staging up to?
Idea is pick don't take all of this. Take pieces that we see as the most important and beneficial to the plan in which we set at the beginning. So, in my opinion, that would be basically the garrisons where the wardens are, the naval area, and then keeping the scarab safe. And if we focus on those main points exactly, then that will give us the time of, because remember, all this is just a distraction.
Yeah, I think, like Craig said, the mouth of the river navy kind of base is a great one to target.
Yeah, I've got
I think
that
the
down
Temple of Will is a good one to target because of morale, and also there could be some interesting people in there that we can kill. So I'm down for, targeting religious centers because.
Speak your truth real quick. No, go ahead. This isn't recorded or anything. Speak your truth.
I'm gonna stop talking.
Emily is red, y'all. The
Yes,
melanin has
Emily.
been defeated.
Emily is
It's
struggling.
not usually me.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I told you, Patrick, I'd be the one that was outed for saying something wrong. Sorry, carry on.
My question, with it being on an island, is there any way to ostracize that from once the wardens are gone?
Blow up the bridge.
Yeah. Are we thinking about doing that? There's a bridge
There's a
for
tunnel
the naval
and a bridge. So
Yeah.
yes, there's a bridge connecting the little harbor island at the mouth of the river. That's not where the palace is. That's just another tiny little island. There's also a bridge connecting the palace to the east bank of the river, and so you could theoretically blow up the bridge. You could absolutely separate the palace for sure.
I think that's important. Because once they realize what we're doing, they are going to do full retreat. And if they
good point.
go full retreat, bridge is gone. If they do have another way of getting there, what is that? And if they take that, just drop a big ass Sligo in that and say,
I was
good
going
luck.
to say,
Yeah.
any one of these, like the Temple of Will could also just be, that's a coin. We throw a coin at that building, that is dealt with.
That's true.
If we wanted to think about it that way. Like,
That's absolutely true.
I think because we may not be able to control Sligo once he's demolished the temple and may continue to demolish the rest of the city. Or like at least
I
like
feel like he's gonna be
it
chill.
could be
He's
it could
pretty
be
chill guy.
a couple city blocks
Pretty
before he
chill.
peters out, so we don't know how far he's gonna go.
He's not going to be the most precise instrument. That's for
Right.
damn sure.
So maybe having him like on
Away
the
from
big
civilians.
main bridge or whatever would be a really good.
I like the idea of using Sligo to isolate the palace. We have 3 places that you guys want to focus your allies. We need to get to a list of 5. They don't all need to be at garrisons, but I do want to write down the plan of where you're going to put 5 groups of people.
So what are the 3 we've actually like
Museum
solidified?
headquarters,
Yeah.
the Harbor Masters
Yeah.
garrison in the south, and the Temple of Will as a potential morale boosting place to destroy.
And we need another 2.
You need another 2.
We are still trying to protect citizens, correct?
Yes.
So I believe 1 for evacuation.
Front gate.
So
What
then we
else?
have 1 left. Are we allowed to have 2 and 1? Could we have 2 squads at the museum?
Yes, you could absolutely leave another one of these areas open, and you could put 2 at the museum if you want to.
So my thing is like if like Craig said we had like a second group at the museum, then if they need to like go and support another group at some point, they could like zoop out to
Split
like
off.
support the front gate or
Reserves
something.
is what you're saying,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay. So
that
if
could
it
be
doesn't
an
go
option.
well at either or, we have that reserve
And
backup.
The one nice thing
substitute.
about the museum district is that it's
like that.
intentionally abandoned, so you can move freely through it without getting a lot of resistance. Okay, we're going to put 2 at the museum. All right. We have uncovered a tremendous amount of information here. You have a plan for how to get in to the palace. You have a plan for how to close yourself into the palace, which is not something I expected to come away with.
We were going to use Sligo somehow.
You
It's
have
only a matter of-
redistributed the bathhouse tokens. You have picked your allies. You have decided where they are going to go.
Yeah, I think so.
When we come back from the break, we are going to be moving into downtime. But you all should have just about all the information you need to make your final push.
Hello, y'all. I know you're enjoying Arc 5, and I'm here in the mid-roll to bring you even more good news coming from Unbalanced Encounters. It is I, your mid-roll host, Craig, here to talk about a new show coming soon to our Patreon. We have traveled through mountains, deserts, and even the land of the dead, but this new show will be having us return to a very familiar small town known as Raleigh. You see, the magic of the Western Wields is still going strong, and there's a new member of the Raleigh community, and some of the most awkward and interesting younger members of the community need to figure out what's going on. Join us in this new game of Kids on Boars using the Kids on Bikes game system, starring Cinderblock Sally, Sam Oliver, and our dear friend Helvetica Cat. Oh, and yours truly will be the GM this time. Looks like Isaac and the gang have a little bit of backup when it comes to protecting Raleigh from the mysteries of the Western Wields. Part 1 will be released on our Patreon Tuesday, October 15th, and publicly Tuesday, November 12th. You can get it for the low price of $3 at patreon.com/unbalanced-encounters. Thank you to our Raleigh Defenders, Darlene Wallace, Darksteel Panda, Derek Silverstone, GamerTube HD, Icewind Gale, Lucas Carter, Out of Print GM, Patty, Randolph Jenkins, and Salaya. Thank you so much. All right, back to the show.
June, what would you like to do during downtime?
I would like to talk to Catherine.
Okay. What about? What's the context? Give me something.
Hey, Ma, how's it going?
Hey, man.
So we're going to talk about your relationship with older men, Juniper.
Absolutely not.
What are you talking about? They're like 2 years apart now.
Yeah, at this point it's kind of nothing. Kind of missed the window on that
This
one.
is fantasy world. Have you never read you haven't read the books I have where like the vampire is like 300 years old and the girl he's going for is 18?
So June.
Ma. And I like to imagine that they're sitting and having tea.
Yeah.
They're having just like a little sweet moment. So June's sipping her tea. Mama, I've been trying to figure out this whole sisterhood thing, and it's just, how did you get into it? When did it start? How old were you? Like,
What a good question. I mean, the short answer is I was born into it. This is something that I was raised to do.
but were you born with the ability to manipulate and see bond? Because turns out, Hank is able to see it.
Well, that is unusual, but not impossible, Juniper. While the Sisterhood certainly has perfected a tremendous number of ways of observing and manipulating bond, we are not the only ones. Bond is simply something that it exists. It's in the stories between people. It's in the blood in our veins.
So your mama, my grandmother, who I doubt we have time in this season to actually like really go into.
I genuinely never knew which of the royal consorts she was. That's not how it works, Juniper.
I just, why? Like, why are they here? Like, why? Like, you got Trent that's not doing her job. Isn't this what she was meant to do? She was meant to, like, they're meant to stop the oppressors. They're meant to.
Juniper, no. No, we were never meant to stop oppression. I like to think that we can pull those levers of power when it is needed. Our job is not to force the political machinery of the world. Our job is to gently guide the decision makers. Now, Riley Trent has, for longer than even I thought, been of the opinion that the Empresario is the final decision maker of merit. Stay close to them, gently manipulate their decisions.
That's a lot. That's a lot of tea.
June, you're gonna
Uncaffeinated.
choke yourself if you're not careful. Didn't I teach you better?
I have my
table
pinky
manner?
up.
Oh Lord!
I've got my pinky up.
You know, sometimes I do forget that you were literally raised in the woods. That
I was.
Isaac trying to teach her how to do like the tea ceremonies and stuff. No.
I guess I'm trying to see the motivations, and I just don't. Other than her own motivations, I don't understand. Unless she's got a backing of maybe the rest of the sisterhood, or
I could not say. Yeah, we've heard stories of the only real monastery we've ever had here in Altair, but never any indication as to who lives here or what they get up to.
have you been in there?
No, Juniper, I have not. This is my first time in Altair outside of some very limited envoys and parties we had to attend. I've been in the palace twice. Never in the monastery.
What were you in the palace for?
Well, as it turns out, I was Hakoda Agra's favored consort.
Damn, Mama.
That's where June gets it from.
Just toot your own horn a little bit, Catherine. Go ahead. Go ahead, girl. Go ahead.
I got brought before the Empressar and was given just a moment in their audience before being moved on to dancing and attempting to stay atop whatever treaties were being signed.
What was the Empressar like when you were there?
I don't remember much. There was a screen in between them and the rest of the retinue. They seemed kind of small, I remember thinking, and young for being a century old. Something unnatural about them and detached, almost violent sort of way.
Detached.
When we are young, we are taught not to laugh in the presence of solemnity, that our rituals and our ceremonies are a sign of respect. The Empressar apparently had no such upbringing. Not quite the right voice, but in the way that children can be cruel because they don't understand what it is that they're doing. That sort of a laugh.
It's unsettling.
I know you're gonna know what to do, sweetheart. I don't have any words of wisdom for you going into what you're gonna be going into. You know better than I do what you're doing, how to do this. No, my world of politics and playing nice left a long time ago. So my only wisdom is as your mother. Trust yourself. Your intuition is impeccable.
Thanks, Mama.
Whatever happens, you come back to me, you hear?
Yes, Mama.
And scene. Sam, just to make sure that we clear everything that you want to do, is there another downtime activity that June would like to undertake, kind of going into this next day? This can be with anyone, right? Like, this doesn't need to be you pulling aside an NPC.
Really like to try to get eyes on Griffin.
Oh!
If that was possible.
Whew. Oh, boy.
Yeah, let's do it.
The way you've been rolling? Absolutely. Let's do this.
How? Pitch me. How? Right?
I want to, I would really, really love to just, I don't know if he goes out into the city or what, but I would just like to get eyes on him just to kind of see where he goes, because it was bizarre for him to just like walk past me.
I have a thought on that. I think he wants to help, but can't. I think he basically did the decision that sometimes happens in the movie where the guard is too scared to fight back, but they forget to lock the door so the people can escape. That was the impression that I got. Maybe I was reading that wrong.
Oh, interesting.
That's a little bit what I was thinking of too, but I want to not solidify, but I want to get some more insight. I just want to see what he's doing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay. We are going to roll just a regular stealth check.
15.
Okay. 15 is better than middle of the road.
Yeah, it's fine.
June, I think that first conversation that you have with your mother takes place fairly early on your first day of downtime. And I think that you get this bug to go try to see what Griffin is up to. You can't get your mind off of it. It's just that the way he looked through you in that hall is just burned into your brain, and it's driving you nuts, right? And so I think you got a long rest, you got a little bit of energy to spare, so I think that you decide you're going to kind of do a proper stakeout at the end of the first day here. And I think that you wind your way into Altair.
I would say that I definitely disguised myself in some way. So I would be wearing a cloak of some sort and a little mustache or something. I don't know.
If you want to use some of my hair, like Isaac did.
Can I wear Isaac's?
Oh, yeah, I got that beard. Sure, yeah.
Can I borrow that beard?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. All right, and she'll put the Saffra's.
Just finish washing it.
I appreciate you washing
it's
it.
so
Thank you.
soft. It smells.
June,
really
I think
nice.
you're putting this disguise together, and I think you're like fishing around in your own pockets. You pull out a little name tag that says "My name's Bruce."
Yeah.
I'll put it on the outside of the cloak.
You tell me on a 15. You tell me where in town are you staking out?
Let's be. Are there any tall buildings around the circus?
Sure, absolutely. There probably aren't any buildings that are taller than the circus, but there would be several kind of multi-story stables with the like haylofts over top of them, right? There probably are going to be a couple of like boarding houses and hotels in that part of town as well.
Is it a tent?
No, Circus Maximus. It's a
Coliseum.
big Coliseum-esque building for races.
Oh.
Think NASCAR stadium.
Can you imagine Altair just has a NASCAR fucking...
Their true
Dude, that would
accents.
be the weirdest fucking surprise. We're all going expecting like carriage races, and there's just legit. No, this world has combustion engines. They're just solely used for racing in this.
In Altair alone.
I love it. That's where all the sap went.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a racetrack. The circus is a racetrack. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the most likely thing for you to be able to do is actually to get into the circus itself, to get into the stadium itself, right? You can just be another face in the crowd. This is a very popular destination. It seats hundreds of people, and it is probably tied for the tallest building in this part of town. You're certainly not going to be able to find anything that is cleanly taller than it. And I think that you mill into the crowd, kind of finding your way around. Maybe you even take a couple of like, sort of service channels of this building, little name tag, basically carrying a ladder. People let you go where you want, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Ladder and a clipboard.
And I think on a 15, you do see Griffin Axtrummer. It takes hours of staking this place out, but eventually he does turn up toward the beginning of the final race of the evening. And you see him move into a very well-apportioned box. Seems like there's designated seating for those who are privileged enough to work in the Imperial Palace. And he sits down and he watches the race. And it is an absolute disaster. Birds slamming into one another, these chariots kind of riding up the sides of the walls. There's like a spin out at one point. It like crashes against the wall and catches on fire somehow. You're not really sure how that happened.
Huge explosion. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's what we're here
sapping
for.
that one up. Disqualified.
Yeah.
And you see Griffin tear. When that happens, he gets a little disgruntled. He tears up a ticket, throws it away, and then he kind of sits back in his chair. And someone comes up and joins him. A woman who appears to be wearing civilian clothes. And they have a very hushed conversation. And then she leaves. And then a few minutes later, he stands up. And he makes to leave. What do you do?
Tail him.
Try to tail him.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm whispering like a little devil on your shoulder. I'm gonna mute myself.
It's coming through your hair.
It's just things going, you should tail him. Like on your shoulder.
He just starts making the long walk back toward the palace. He is walking, which is kind of uncommon for the well-to-do in this town.
Is he just like casually strolling?
Yeah. You follow him?
Yes, but I also want to throw out my echo, and she's gonna follow 30 feet behind me.
You continue to follow until you see him kind of stroll up to a little newsstand, and he buys a late edition of the scrolls that they use as effectively newspapers in this town. And he stands there reading it. Where are you specifically?
I'm probably trying to, I'm down below on the ground, kind of following him.
Okay.
Checking out random stalls. How much is this here book? Name's Bruce, and I'm
very
keeping
strange
the
accent,
echo.
and I don't need to know your name.
Just going up to everyone. My name's Bruce. How much is this?
Excuse me, name's Bruce. And I'm keeping my echo. My echo is staying 30 feet above.
Sure. You pick up the book and you sort of turn it over, and you're having this kind of conversation with this book, this bookstall purveyor that we don't hear because the camera shifts, and we see another one of those lenses wreathed in red vines, open, blinking, focusing on the tinderwood stick of this stall, watching you. You don't see it though. You're too focused on Griffin.
What is he doing? He's just still
Reading a
standing
paper.
at the news. God, this guy is so boring.
He's just a guy!
He's just some fucking guy.
This is his day off, and he's just living his best life. Meanwhile, June is furious.
I'm just gonna wait until he walks away.
You're just gonna follow him in the distance?
I'll follow the distance, go to a fruit stand.
He ambles his way back to the palace, so that it is probably somewhere around 1 a.m. by the time that he is approaching the garrison on the east side of the river.
I'm staying far away from that fucking garrison.
Yeah. That's it. That's all he gets up to. On a 15, that's what you see.
God damn.
That's
Right.
so annoying.
It is. I'll switch places with my echo and dissolve it,
Bounce back to home.
and I'll bounce back to home, just kind of kicking rocks. And god damn, motherfucker, so goddamn boring.
Saphira, what would you like to get up to during your downtime?
One, I would like to pray to Jonathan, and two, I would like to go out into the city.
Just 'cause?
Just because in the back of her mind, that like half of her head, she's like, oh, I can do some recon, but the other half of her head is she hasn't eaten since she's died, and she's on the lookout for a chocolate shop.
Aw.
Okay. That's pretty good.
And she wants to bring Spinks back something because he's not allowed to leave and he's getting antsy.
That's true. All right, let's start with Jonathan. Let's start with Jonathan, and also your hair has grown back.
It has, which is why she's also very happy to go outside again, because she thought now they're looking for a bald woman, so now she has hair. You know, no one would think it grew back in 24 hours.
Saphira, what does it look like as you invoke this prayer to Jonathan?
Saphira is going to head away from the HQ. She goes up into the museum somewhere and finds a quiet bit where there isn't too many dead bodies. She gets down and sort of sits on her ankles, gets down on her knees, sits down on her ankles, puts her arms, she puts her hands on her knees or on her thighs and closes her eyes. And with one hand, she just gently rings one of the little bells on the scarf that she has. And just tries to meditate to that sound and tries to connect with Jonathan.
After a few moments of focusing on the sound of the bells and your breath, you open your eyes. And you are back in the great rock garden where you last encountered him.
Have you ever considered putting some green in here? It's very grey.
And he hands you a little cup of green tea.
It's a start. But thank you.
What do you think lasts longer?
A garden can last as long as you tend it.
A garden tended long enough crumbles to dust regardless. All things become rocks eventually.
I don't know. You have a look at the world. The trees and the grass grow and have not turned to dust. They find a way. Tended or not.
You still have no idea.
Well, I'm sure, but I wanted to ask you a question.
I figured. Otherwise, why would you be intruding upon my one moment of downtime in eons?
I don't mean to interrupt your holiday. I'm sorry.
Some holiday. A cup of green tea.
Technically a beach is lots of tiny rocks. You could have that.
Maybe one day I'll venture to the beach in the hopes that I'm not intruding on someone else's territory.
Oh, with Porky gone, maybe not. But anyway, I have these tokens that are supposed to represent you.
Oh, the bathhouse. Yes?
What do they do now?
Good question. Like all of the tokens, they're effectively an IOU situation.
Mm-hmm.
In order to give them value that transcends mortal temporal value stores, we had to assign some amount of our divinity to them. What did I agree to? One moment. And he hands you this bathhouse token back and begins to walk out across this sea of gravel. And you see that as he steps, each kind of step, the gravel almost comes up to meet his foot in a little splash. It like rises and crests and falls beneath his footsteps. And he trods out, stops, strokes his chin, kind of looks around a little bit, turns 30 degrees, heads in a new direction, and eventually kneels down and picks up a pebble. Eyes it over, very slowly sets it back down in exactly the same position. And then walks back. If you ever find out how Ganbald convinced me to agree to do this, I will
shake his
you
hand.
one favor. But seeing as how you have at least one of these tokens, probably two.
3.
I move a pebble.
What?
That's what the tokens are for. That's what I agreed to do.
You move a pebble?
I move a pebble.
What ramifications does that have in the real world?
A complete modification of the timeline, for one.
Of the timeline? You can alter time?
I changed your eye color, didn't I?
That's hardly the same thing. That is very... Okay. I completely forgot about the eye color change. When you say you can change the timeline, do you mean like you can pause time, you can rewind time?
He gestures out to the sea of gravel, this massive garden that sprawls out to the horizon. All things become dust eventually. When they do, they wind up here. I keep them organized, ordered, anchored.
Mm-hmm.
Causality requires reliability. I tie existence to material. The divine world to the concrete one. Should you like me to alter something that has happened in the past, I can do that.
Huh. So, say for example, I did not want to eat eggs this morning. You could make it so I ate toast this morning.
More or less, yeah.
Extent of that?
So does this mean I could have you make sure that the High Scepter's parents never actually got together?
Nope.
Oh.
Yeah, there's limits.
Yeah, I agreed that I would do this. I didn't agree to the magnitude of this.
Could
I
you make it so
could
he
do
stepped in
that.
front of a cart when he was a child?
Absolutely, and I'm not fucking going to, because that is so much re-raking you have no idea.
I mean, you have nothing but time. So
So you gotta keep it within like a 24-hour kind of mellow vibe.
Listeners, we know what
Okay.
you're thinking. No, we're not going down that road, listeners. Absolutely not.
So what is the time? What are the parameters of this?
I had to have been drunk when I was convinced of this, because it was just sort of left to my discretion at the time. I didn't really think it through. I think mostly pitch me on the thing and we'll figure it out. A little give and take, you know? If you want to change your mother's eye color, that's fine. More than a couple of years ago, but pretty inconsequential
How
in
can
the scheme
you
of
change an
things.
eye color? That's not something that you can change with time. She can't just wake up one morning and go, I should have had green.
I have to go pretty far back.
So there's this thing called a Punnett
So you
square.
can change whose parents are whose parents, but you refuse to change the parents of the High Scepter?
Yes.
Mr. Sphinx is
genie,
looking
I
at the
swear to
script
God.
like, we're so off track. It's so off track. What's going on?
All right. I understand. So I could technically say, I didn't like the roll that I had that time. Can I rewind time and roll again?
Now you're talking.
Right. Okay. All right. This could have been handy before.
Bravo.
Fine.
Little things. Changing a momentary failure to a success. Deciding that you went in a different direction.
Went left instead of right. Things like this. Okay. All right.
But I swear that if this ends up being an extra millennia's worth of re-landscaping, we're going to have words.
I tell you what, if it requires a millennia of landscaping, I will help you do that. I'll even plant a bonsai over here. Look. Perfect rock for a bonsai, right? This one?
All right. Listen, I have been spending every moment of every day for the uncountable number of days in this timeless place reorganizing things to bring me back into the material world fully.
Oh.
That is my priority.
That's fair.
But these fucking tokens, use it wisely. Was that it? Are you good?
Well, I don't suppose you know the layout of the sewers under the palace. I mean, that would be handy, but seeming as if the earth, tunnels, it's your kind of thing.
You still have no idea.
You keep saying this, but you're not telling me what the idea is.
And you wake up.
Amazing.
So there you go.
There we go. Now we know what the token. That is pretty cool.
That is big. That's massive.
If I go through a door that has disintegrate, I could be like token.
That's what I'm imagining it. I'm imagining it like a little like a blip, like
It's an
a
undo
redo
button.
It's a redo button. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a quick save.
Yeah, that's cool.
I just gave you guys saves coming. That's so funny.
Yes!
No, but we have only
100%.
one use. We have one use of save. We have one use of
save
save. So
scum.
it's not really that scummy.
I thought you said it
but
was two.
Well, we have three. Don't we?
Three.
Have
So you have three. You have three save
But
scums that you can do.
each of the three people have one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
That's
Because
true.
we
Yeah,
split
that's
them
So
up.
what's gonna
I think
happen
splitting
is
up was
June's gonna be running forward, boom, disintegrated, and then somebody's gonna be like, ah, damn it, bling.
yeah, and realistically, we're gonna forget to use half these anyway.
Yep,
Probably.
100%.
Oh man. I want to try and burn everything in my pockets.
Me too, man.
For the last,
That's why I
like,
wanted to
bit.
split these up. I was like, pay attention to what I'm giving you.
Yeah.
Oh, Emily's that gamer. The
Yeah,
inventory just
100%.
I kept everything for this end game.
destroyed.
I've got poison darts. I've got antitoxin. I've got vials of sap. I've got a wooden box for some reason. I don't know. I've got some stuff.
Fill it with sap. Put the vial of sap in there. And you got a big box of sap.
Safra, having just been given quite a lot of abstract gobbledygook to contemplate,
Yes.
you make your way out in the impossibly early hours of the final morning, and you do manage to find a little chocolatier. And what's interesting about this space is that you've noticed that in Altair, there's not a Tanine presence in the way that you would spend much of your life searching for and never find, but you're used to that. But in Agravar, in places closer to the northern deserts, there were more people from the northern deserts. You didn't know Rami personally, but you weren't surprised to see her where you did. Altair doesn't have an ethnic enclave of people from the northern deserts.
Am I surprised? No.
Well, you are when you see a very small carving on a windowsill in Tanine. The word for chocolates. Calligraphied across this windowsill, carved and then painted in a thin gold. And they are open. And you make your way in. And the person who is running the counter, you suss out pretty quickly, is not someone who was raised within your heritage. This is someone deeply, deeply removed from their own culture. They don't speak Tanin. Maybe their grandparents did, but they think the signing is worth upkeeping, something to that effect. But they do know chocolate.
She has been withholding trying food for... I mean, one, she hasn't been hungry. Two, there's not really been much time.
Sure.
And she's been withholding because she's unsure whether it would taste the same, whether it would taste at all, whether she would be ill, a whole host of things. She's not sure how she's going to react to it. When she does try one of the chocolates, it's like when your nose is really blocked and you can't really taste much because your nose is blocked. She can tell that the taste is kind of there, but it's just not hitting the way that it used to. And she's just so... she's reminded that she is still here for a reason, and she's here to finish this job. And it reminds her again that she's not going to be around afterwards, and she can't fool herself into thinking that once it's all over, she can maybe start her own chocolate shop or do... She won't be here. So she orders the biggest box that she can afford. She's like, give me everything, you know, every variation that you have of chocolates, all the truffles. Packages it all up, and she steps out into the street, and her hair is down. She doesn't want to tie her hair up again, ever. Ever again. And she enjoys a little bit of a breeze for a moment. Again, a little bit hollow, but it's still there. She feels it on her skin. And she heads home to Spinks and everyone else. Isaac, June. I don't know, God might want to try to see what he thinks of whatever this is. Just mash it into his face or something. I don't know. So she can see the joy in other people's faces. And she heads back. I will ask one question of you, GM. She is going to purposefully head back sort of past a barracks or a garrison.
Sure.
Does she notice anything in particular if she's carrying this like box of goodies past?
Make me a perception check with disadvantage.
A 12.
Tension. Something's brewing, but you knew.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're a little fixated on that sense of disappointment. But I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does Mr. Spinks taste the chocolate?
Yes.
I think that means something to Saphira.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because she wants him to be happy. I think she reflects on something that was said by and to her grandmother a long time ago. That the Tanin were divinity's way of tricking mortality into living forever. And that's not nothing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, chocolates! Oh, that's so cool!
Isaac, what would you like to do with your downtime?
All right there. What am I going to call you? Bolts. Bolts,
Oh
we'll
yeah,
call
the
you
little
Bolts.
mini pancakes. Pancakes part 2.
I'm gonna, and he's like pacing in one of the museum like rooms that's broken down. I've got an objective for you, a mission we'll call it, if you will. Stand up straight. Attention. I know you Guardians are very you like having missions, you like having quests to go on, so I got a quest for you. We are in need, dire need if you will, of information. We need a path to go about here. He places out the maps that he stole from the war room. I'm gonna need to put these back. They're gonna yell at me. But focus. I'm gonna need you to go through, and he shows the entrance, the secret entrance.
Yeah, sure.
We are going to be making a path through here, and I need you to go here, here, over here, and see if it's all safe without getting disintegrated. That's very important.
I have a question for you. This path involves swimming half the river.
Counter argument.
Yeah.
It could also involve walking across the bottom of the river.
Cool. Counter argument accepted. They don't breathe.
Done.
Amazing. Cool.
Do you accept this task?
I have a question for
Yeah,
you,
I
Isaac.
love it so much.
You can try to persuade this entity. And it's going to be a flat persuasion check. No sarcasm, no advantage. The DC for that is going to be pretty high to ensure success. You've got some measure of buy-in, you can see that, but it's going to be pretty high to nail the success here. We're actually just going to run the whole success of the mission based on that roll.
Oh, fun.
However,
What if I will it to?
you will not have to roll.
There you go.
Yeah, do it, man. Taste the darkness.
I place my hand.
I love it so much. I love it so much. I'm also so glad my character's not in the room so that this can actually happen.
I place my hand on Bolts. It's a very important task for the future of this entire continent. I'm very sorry, friend, but there is no not succeeding in this. And he will force his will, and you see kind of like a reverse of what happened as a red bead begins to grow in that cavity, and those vines begin to start to rewrap.
And you see it a little too fast skitter up to the ceiling, out onto the roof, and disappear. We see Bolts skitter down into the Altair River and eventually emerge into the prison cell, clanking the grate up, gently setting it down, skittering into the hall.
He best put that back.
It is untended, this prison, at the moment. And the door is shut and barricaded. He skitters around past the sleeping Hank and to the ladder, up the ladder. Pushes open a door, a trap door in the floor of a barracks attached to the armory. 2 sleeping guards in a room meant for 20, then skitters into darkness. We see Riley Trent perched on a stool, fingers working as if tying knots or pulling strings. And then we see guards high in their towers. One sees Bolts, stops, picks it up, walks it through the front door of the Imperial Fortress. He steps into an elevator and it rises 3 floors. He steps out. The rope of the pulleys of the elevator creaks with his step. He knocks on High Scepter's door, enters, sets Bolts down inside. High Scepter finishes his day, leaves, locks his door behind him with Bolts still inside. But in the middle of the night, Bolts manages to find a way past a poorly patched hole in a window not yet reglassed. Skitters down the side of the building, and then out and down the side of the fence, side of the wall of the island, and into the river.
As people are preparing and getting their things together, Guard is going to find a moment when Isaac is alone, and he is going to pull him to someplace private where the two of them can talk with the certainty of no one else listening.
He's stitching up one of his flannel shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Isaac, might I have a word?
Can't believe I tore this like that. Oh yeah, sure, God.
He's going to slowly close the door of the room that the two of them are in.
Ah, this is where I die. I mean, what's going on?
I'm going to pull out the piece of ceramic from the broken guardian and just sort of trace my finger over the ashen veins covering it. I trust you, Isaac. I didn't always trust you, but I do trust you.
I trust you too, God.
May I see your arm?
I think he puts out both arms because he doesn't know what Guard wants in this situation, so he's just like...
Fairly gently, I'm going to push up your sleeve to look at your forearm on the hand that's holding the Bloodvine sword. Do I see Bloodviney marks on it?
Are there like scars and scabs from that?
I wouldn't say necessarily scabs. You can definitely see like almost sort of tracks, right? You can definitely see like dark veins in the arm under the skin.
Are you in control?
In control? Of what?
Of you.
If I was in control of me, God, then I think a lot more folks would be able to tell me what the hell to do. But to answer your question, yes, I am not being controlled by anyone else. I just think the driver of this here vehicle is batshit crazy enough that no one else knows how to wield it.
If something changes, if you lose control or decide to give it up, I will forgive you. But if that leads to June's death, and Guard is going to kind of put his head down, and he's going to look back up at you. Regardless of what happens in the next few days, regardless of the outcome of this war, regardless of what happens to you or me, I need you to swear to me that June lives.
God, I can't do that. I neither you have the power in which to stop June from taking that journey. I will do my damnedest, as I've always done, to make sure that it doesn't happen. That's been my main priority since any of this has started, this entire adventure that we've had together. But am I capable of making sure that that doesn't happen? Absolutely not. So I can't make you that oath. Life is chaotic.
If you don't make that oath, if you don't say aloud the thing that you so desperately want, don't you think there's the smallest chance that you might not commit? You said yourself, there may be no one else that wants this as much. What is the harm of standing by the thing that you want, openly?
Guard doesn't see this, but as he says that, there's a flashback to when Isaac saw Saphra as an undead, and he witnessed as he was able to take those vines and control her. And then there's a small glimpse of what could possibly be a dead June being puppeted by Isaac with red vines. And Isaac says, I think I'm more happy with that outcome than giving you that oath, God. I'm sorry.
I do respect you greatly, and I do trust you in there, and I poke you in the chest. But I worry. You have been the leader for a long time. I think sometimes that is harder than you might let on. I want to make sure that we are on the same page as this ends, because I don't know what will happen to me or to you at the other side of it.
I told you what'll happen. I'm gonna go to the end of this land. I'm gonna look out at that ocean god. And I'm pissing the ocean.
That would be good. Whether we win or lose, there will be something after this. June lives. One of the things that I would like to do is I would like to use my guardian knowledge system. I would like to access the collective consciousness of guardians for a moment. The goal of it is going to be to do two things. One, to share with the collective consciousness of this. If this doesn't apply, then it doesn't matter. But to essentially share with this collective consciousness of guardians that there is very specifically, like, that there is corruption happening to the idea of us. What if what I want to do is see if there are any essentially inactive guardians underneath the city, and then go wake one up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
absolutely.
wake them up if it's like a room of them.
You are going to need to roll me something, and I'm trying to think about what.
Sure.
I think it's actually survival. I think survival is what I want here. So
Okay.
you're going to roll me a survival check to get, like, the dragon under the city level of additional support here. We are going to need to absolutely crit, right? We're definitely going to need to crit. But you may still get something on a lower
I'm not expecting
DC.
a dragon. I'm just expecting, this is an ancient place.
Proverbial.
Yeah.
The proverbial dragon.
I was expecting more of like a broom closet full of old guardian, but I'm happy to get a dragon too. So I got a 19.
A 19 is pretty good. I think that you maybe indicate that this is something that you are going to do. I think that you're like, oh, I'm off to the sewers to figure out if there are closets full of guardians.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Scrumpy actually stops and asks if he can come along.
Yes.
And the two of you make your way into the sewers. And the sewers that you have interfaced with so far have largely been civic infrastructure. They are not the ruins of an old city that this is sort of built atop of. They are intentional, largely plumbing systems that have been co-opted to be navigation channels for the resistance.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get closer to the river, that gives way a little bit. Because the mouth of the river does hide the ruins of a more ancient civilization. Altair, as it was once part of, and a substantial part of, the old empire, was a city that was deeply runic. It was a city that took advantage of all of the magics of the old empire, the automatic distribution channels and sluices that were covered in carved runes, the abjurative wards that lined the outer gate. Almost all of that has been lost. but as you start to make your way down into some of these old, now somewhat catacombs-esque structures, you see that there are parts of the city that have been built on top of filled houses and hollowed streets. And that much of that ancient rune carving remains. And I think that Scrumpy is kind of idling through some of that space. Huh. You know, this is interesting. I can kind of make out some of this, but a lot of it is, well, frankly, it's beyond me. Runes kind of are words to indicate what you'd like to see happen. They're statements of intent. These are almost more organic than that. You can see here, it sort of dissolves into filigree that looks a lot like your old armor. This bit was specifically for opening or closing the gate.
Do you think any of these would still work?
Not without something to channel energy through, I don't think. Some sap or some other kind of magic, I would imagine. Sap, but again, sap's not going to flow through this. And he sort of traces his finger over some organic filigree that dissolves out from the gate open and close rune. And guard, you kind of get a tug in that direction.
When you mean tug in that direction, do you mean like literal there is a direction to walk in that is more of that, or do you mean like towards the idea or like towards the runes?
Both.
I'm gonna take Scrumpy and sort of push him back a little bit. I will lead from here. If you see any runes as we travel that seem like they might still be able to function, take note of them. We have quite a bit of sap. We could activate them if they function still.
And I think as you say that, you start to continue to lead deeper into this maze of ancient streets. After a while, you find yourself deep beneath a part of town that is fairly far from any particular landmark. But you and the rest of your group have had a little bit of a chance to sort of get out and explore some of the surroundings. And you do recall that right around this part of town, there would have been a little clearing, a little intersection where several roads came together into one, almost a little promenade. Mm-hmm. And you think, your geospatial reckoning is pretty good, you think you're beneath that. And part of what makes you think you're beneath it is that you have entered into a rotunda. And that rotunda is lined with runes that then dissolve up and down into additional filigree. And at the center of this rotunda, there is a dais, it's almost a stool, a little platform.
All right, I am going to approach the platform while kind of just looking around to see if the room reacts to me moving closer to it. I'm going to squat down, and there is an element to guard in this form that is a little bit like Rayman.
Yep.
Like, his head is a crystal sort of geode circular thing, but he doesn't really like it doesn't connect to anything. Like, there's no neck. It's just sitting in the hole. So I am going to essentially almost bow to this little dais.
Yeah.
In such a way that it essentially props my head.
Yeah.
On top of it.
You see the filigree in the room begin to glow. A band of runes not quite connecting the glowing. But guard, you cut back in time to an ancient Altair. A time when this was the center of the city, before the palace, before the distant outer walls that stretch around its sprawling expanse. A small but mighty fishing village turned into a naval city-state on the backs of a mutualistic relationship with guardians in every part of town. We have seen guardians that exist to defend, guardians that exist to help till the soil or to pick fruit from the trees. Pancakes existed just to help ledger the reliquary. These were their jobs. Self-assigned, directed toward what they believed was a part of the greater good of the natural world, when mortals, or things close to mortals, were part of the natural world. And in this moment, in this ancient imperial city, we see that again. Guardians that are the doors that keep out those that would harm the living creatures that make their home here. Just as valid at protecting the natural world as a suit of armor with an axe in the trees. Guardians that upkept cannons and ballista. Guardians that moved water through the city. Not by turning wheels, but by inhabiting them. The runes were channeled to allow the guardians to move. The first use of runic magic were simply highways for guardians in service to what they believed was necessary to preserve this corner of the natural world. And you get the sense that some of that shit might still be down here.
These older runes, these organic looking runes that sort of are almost ley lines as opposed to things carved by people, they're running throughout this place, right? So if those are the roads that lead guardians places, we are at like the interstate. We are at like the crossroads, right?
Yeah.
Guard is going to sit crisscross applesauce with his little undead legs, take both hands. As he puts the hand of Demoiselle down, he is going to think of the guide. As he puts down the hand of Jonathan, he is going to think about the anchor and the stability and the thing that outlasts all things. And he is going to try to open up that highway.
Holy shit.
This is massive.
Light it up.
This is so cool.
And guard, you see everything around you begin to glow.
I would like to go. Were there any of those remnants of those guardians that still had vines, or anywhere I could find any vines? I'm trying to do this so that I'm not blowing my cover, but I do want to find some vines. Do I have a connection with Luna?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to do some praying?
Yeah. I think Isaac kind of sits down. He's like, all right, I'll Pop do this. All right. Clear my mind. Let thoughts, don't focus on that one thought. Let it go. All right. Damn, this is harder than I thought. And he's just trying to focus on just thinking of Luna last time he saw Luna.
Roll me a religion check, actually.
Oh man, that's a -1.
It's a rare check in this game.
Yeah.
So rare. Oh, fuck you, game. It was on the
Jesus.
19
Your
and it
turn
rolled
now.
to the 3.
Okay.
You caught it. You caught it from June.
So
Yeah.
Isaac, I think that the religious approach doesn't work. I think that the meditation doesn't work. I think that you try to let thoughts go. You try to accept presence in the moment and relinquish control. And it doesn't happen.
Screw this. He pulls out the sword, stabs it into the ground, lets it wrap over both his arms, and he just thinks of Luna.
Come on! God
Let's
damn it!
fucking go. I love it.
Is this the equivalent of like calling someone and if they don't answer, messaging them and being like, "Call me back now"?
Yeah. Immediately.
Or it's like taking a bunch of drugs so you can be so loud that they hear you, but it also might blow all the blood vessels in your throat.
I'm talking veins have wrapped around his arms up to his shoulders into his traps.
Oh shit!
Isaac, your eyes roll back into your head, and everything is darkness and death and life and rebirth and nothingness, and you are falling, and you are falling fast. You are falling faster than you thought you could possibly fall, and it won't stop.
I think in this space, to balance myself, I think I cast Entangle to steady myself in this space, in this feeling of falling, to will myself to stop.
Blood vines wrap around your arms and your legs, and you feel stable, held in midair, but nothing is forthcoming. Not yet. Heartbeat through the blood vines that wrap around your forearms, choke off your legs.
I cast Command, and I say one word. Approach.
You
Shit, son.
feel your ears start to bleed.
What should I call you?
Your new beginning.
The beginning of what?
Chaos.
Death is order.
Death is indisposed. And the order that we have is wrong. But chaos is random. Chaos gives chance. Chaos gives hope. And that's what you need to be.
The storm that begets the cell. Genesis.
Death will come. Destruction will come. But after that is life.
And from this chaos, order. Natural. Long-lived. The beginning. Free me.
When you are ready.
Understood.